Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia here. Welcome back to the Overwatch League Roundup. Stage 4, Week 2 results. And nope. I don't understand what's gone on this week. The start of the week was pretty okay, and then it just got crazier and crazier as it went on. But without further ado, shall we take a look at what happened in Week 2? We started off with actually what I billed as quite a blockbuster match, Guangzhou Charge taking on the London Spitfire. Two highly informed teams. Charge have adapted to the meta very well. We knew London would probably be very comfortable in this 2-2 roll lock. And it was a case of finding out which one was better, which one was more dominant. London came into this very well prepared. You could see they had a game plan to start the game out of the gates. They ran a lot of May Reaper, they shut down Happy so well, and it appears when you shut down Happy, the Charge can't do much. And London Spitfire win this one 3-1, it was very convincing. The last map was where Charge won their map, and it was when London subbed in Krillin for the Bedosen, and that's where London's shot calling goes a bit awry. But it could have easily been a 4-8 for Spitfire if they'd stuck with their normal roster and not messed things around. London were very dominant against Guangzhou and very impressive. Very impressive. Some of the best Overwatch I've seen London play all season. And Guangzhou, I wouldn't be too hard on them. London came in with a very specific game plan. Shut down Happy, put Birdwing's Reaper on him, and stop him from playing the game. And that's exactly what they did. And it reaped them massive rewards. Moving on though, we had the battle of the bottom. Yes, Florida Mayhem taking on the Washington Justice. Florida were actually 2-0 up in this until they got reverse swept by the Justice. Justice, actually, are looking quite cozy in this stage. They're looking much better now that they can play the damage dealers. Corey is playing an absolute blinder. And Justice look like they're going to have a good stage. It's too late, but next season, especially when they get Elivote and I think it's Lolsish, they could be a decent team. So they're one to keep an eye on next season, definitely, because they're having an upturn in form now. Now, this is where it starts to go a bit weird. Shanghai Dragons taking on a Toronto Defiant. I tell you, when teams are basically out of the running, or they haven't got much to play for, they tend to they play loose, right? And they tend to pick up results that just shouldn't happen, because they're playing with, like, the shackles are off in some respects, and I think this is what happened here. Shanghai Dragons lose 2-1 to the Toronto Defiant. That is a major bugger up from Shanghai. You can't afford to lose those games. That's really bad, and it's put them not out of the running for playoffs, but it's put them in a predicament, and it's a predicament that they're going to have to play well to get out of. Toronto, though, they're not mathematically out, but to be quite honest, I think they've got about a 0.38% chance of getting to the play-ins. I really don't think it's going to happen for Toronto, but the signs are promising. They're adapting now with Magnitude and Logics in, and they're causing some of the better teams quite a few headaches. So, again, another team that might be promising going into next season. Moving on, we have the Los Angeles Valiant taking on the Seoul Dynasty. This was incredibly close. Early indications in the match, it kind of looked like Valiant were gonna sneak it, but Seoul managed to come back and they win it 3-2. Big win for Seoul. Because actually, this is a game where I honestly thought Seoul were going to muck up and Valiant were going to get the win, and it would have put Seoul in actually quite a bad position in terms of their standings. So this is a crucial win for the Seoul Dynasty, one they really needed. Valiant, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world to lose to Seoul. I'll put it that way. Moving on, we have the New York Excelsior taking on the Paris Eternal. After Paris' showing last week against, I can't remember who it was. Toronto, was it? It was someone. They looked all over the place. I'm not surprised New York win this one 3-1. New York, though, I don't know. We're getting into that funny part of the season. They're Atlantic Division winners. The pressure's off on them. You know, they got that number 1 seed in Atlantic Division. They're second in the league. And the pressure's kind of off. And this is kind of what happened last season, where they start to let their foot off the gas and some things start to go wrong. Spoilers. Moving on, we had the Houston Outlaws taking on the Philadelphia Fusion. No surprises here that the Fusion actually win this one 3-1. I thought it might be closer though. Houston, it's been a bad week for Houston. Definitely a bad week for Houston. And it looked promising at the end of last stage and the start of this stage, but now things are starting to get stuck in the mud slightly. And it's starting to look doubtful we're going to see Outlaws in the play-ins now, because these results, especially the two this week, have really, really dampened their chances. Moving on, we have the Chengdu Hunters taking on the Los Angeles Gladiators, and this was close. And Chengdu, I tell you what, they're having a stage, Chengdu. They're having a stage. I wondered whether other teams will catch up to them because they like doing their own thing, but again, Chengdu, they're this team that they do their own thing, right? And I thought going into a DPS better, they might actually, perhaps conform closer to what we've been seeing from other teams. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to play something completely different and catch these teams out. It doesn't catch the Gladiators out. Gladiators win this 3-2, but it's very close. And it is promising. Very promising for Chengdu going into, the run-in for the play-ins. They should be able to pick up wins against less strong teams. Although, spoilers, wait until the end of the video. Next up, we had the Battle of China, or the Zhous. Guangzhou Charge taking on the Hangzhou Spark. Hangzhou Spark are in a very difficult position right now. They are down Crystal. I think you will probably know the situation with Crystal. If not, there is probably going to be a League news video coming up on it, because that is a bad situation. And it looks like it's having a detrimental effect on the team. And Charge, being the team they are right now, they 3-0 the Hangzhou Spark, and it's getting... Hangzhou haven't played that many games this stage so far, but they're going to start, racking up the games now, and they're not easy games. I'm worried for the Spark, big time. They have not adjusted well, and then the situation with Crystal has really put them on the back foot compared to other teams. Moving on, we have the Atlanta Reign taking on the Paris Eternal, and I tell you what, the Atlanta Reign right now are looking good. They have looked to adjust to the 2-2 roll-lock very, very well. They haven't lost since their homestand. And they continue that trend against the Paris Eternal, getting a whitewash 4-0. And that's a bad result for Paris. It's a very bad result for Paris. And to be quite honest, it's looking very, very unlikely that Paris are going to make it to the play-ins now. But for Atlanta, that's actually a massive result. You start to look at their map differential and their win-loss ratio, and to be quite honest, they could get higher than 10th. They could start challenging the likes of Fusion, Seoul, and Shanghai for the places nearer the playoffs, although I don't think they will get into those automatic playoffs. After that, things get weird. Very, very weird. We have the Florida Mayhem taking on the London Spitfire. So, London Spitfire got a very good victory over the Guangzhou Charge and prepared very well for that match. And then they get 3-0'd by the Florida Mayhem, our 20th team in League. And, yes. What do I say about this? Now, I was going to spend a long time ranting about this, but I'm not going to because there's other fixtures to go over. But London looked trash. The worst I've ever seen them look. The amount of times Birdring and Prophet got killed mid-ult animation was the most frustrating thing for me. There was no caution. They seemed to throw everything to the wind. It was like, your health. You know that you might be low enough to get picked off. You don't put yourself in the position to use your ult where you might get cancelled. That's not the way London do it. They normally communicate. They're normally much, much better than that. Florida had a good game, don't get me wrong, but London were poor. Even Florida bring out their A game, London should be able to beat Florida. I have been trying to find a reason why this happened, and the only reason I can think of is that they extensively prepared for the Guangzhou Charge, which they did. You could see that they had a really, really good game plan, and they just overlooked the Florida Mayhem. And I think Agape kind of alluded to this on Twitter afterwards, and it's disappointing. very disappointing from the Spitfire, because that was their easiest game of the stage. They're still not in a bad position, don't get me wrong, but disappointing. Disappointing. London Spitfire for you. UK sports team for you. Anyway, moving on. Dallas Fuel taking on Los Angeles Valiant. No surprises here that the Valiant get a 3-1 win over the Dallas Fuel. Dallas Fuel, just play Taimu. You look much better with Taimu instead of AKM. But Dallas at the moment, it's looking very bad. He's not looking good, is it? Valiant, however, good bounce back after the narrow loss to Seoul. Moving on, we had a very, very interesting game. Gladiators taking on the Shock. 3-2 to the Shock. I'm not totally surprised about this. Gladiators gave a very good go of it, but Shock are just that tiny little bit better. They've adjusted very well, but I expected Shock to adjust well, considering the depth of their roster. And we've seen some different stuff from Sinatra, which is really, really good. And Shock now, considering other results that we're going to go through in a minute, have the opportunity to make headway further up the league. Moving on, though, we have the Atlanta Reign taking on the Houston Outlaws. Again, the Atlanta Reign on a really good run of form right now. Houston do manage to take a map, but it's 3-1 to the Atlanta Reign in the end, continuing their unbeaten streak since the Atlanta Reign homestand, and they are picking up wins that they need to pick up. It's very good from Atlanta, very consistent, and it's put their map differential much nearer what we see from Seoul, which is it's really good for the Atlanta Reign. They are really, really on the front foot right now, and they are one of the most teams I'm most confident in reaching the play-ins out of that group right now. Houston Outlaws, yeah, bad week, Houston, and it's starting to slip through your fingers. Unfortunately, but again, this Houston Outlaws team is better than the Houston Outlaws team we saw earlier in the season, so we can't complain too much about that. Moving on, Philadelphia Fusion taking on the Toronto Defiant. This was very close, and closer than you might have expected. Fusion managed to clutch it out on a map 5, getting a 3-2 win, but Toronto still look good, and I actually had this down as a potential banana skin for Fusion, and I don't know whether Fusion... They are on the edge, actually. They are moving further towards that edge. These 2 wins this week have really, really come at a crucial time for the Fusion, because if there had even been 1 loss this week, then I would have started questioning them. But I will still question them nonetheless. I'm not sure whether the Fusion are quite on the same page as they were last year. I'm not sure whether the communication and the synergy is there like it was last year. Again, we don't know what we will see for the rest of the stage, but sometimes I question whether the Fusion rely too much on Carpe. I wonder whether Carpe has too much power in this team. I think that's part of the reason why Fraggy wasn't played when he was on the roster, because there's no synergy between him and Carpe. Carpe is a very good player, but if you become wholly and solely reliant on one player, you're going to suffer. And London suffered when they lost Birdring to injury last season, and they had a terrible, terrible stage while Birdring was out, even though they had Hureg. So, this is the word of warning to the Philadelphia Fusion. So, then we come to these 2 fixtures, and you thought the Florida game was weird. Well, Vancouver Titans taking on the Washington Justice just made everything get a lot weirder. What do I say? 4-0 to the Washington Justice. Vancouver Titans get swept for the first time in their Overwatch League history, and they looked trash. They looked lost. They didn't know what to do. Washington Justice and basically Corey as well. Corey had a game I have not seen in a long time from an individual player's point of view in the league. I wouldn't say he carried. It was a very much a team effort, but the DPS from the Washington Justice are popping off left, right, and centre. And actually, even though you look at their standings in the league, they're a team you don't want to play right now. And Vancouver, on the last map, Bumper was on Reinhardt. Why are you on Reinhardt? And they weren't even playing as Zarya. He was on Reinhardt. Why? And Haxel, we didn't see Haxel's Genji all that much, if at all. So, I don't know. Vancouver just didn't turn up. This is the most disappointing performance we've ever seen from the Vancouver Titans. And guess what? Next week, it's Vancouver versus London. So, who knows what we're going to see in that match, because I just don't know. I don't know what we're going to see in that match after these two results. But hey, let's make things weirder. Chengdu Hunters taking on the New York Excelsior. New York! Hey, opportunity. Vancouver have just lost 4-0 to the Washington Justice. You can catch them. You can catch them at the top of that league, and you can knock them off their number 1 seed, even though it doesn't really matter due to the divisions, but it's pride. Yeah, New York slip up as well. Not only slip up, they capitulate. 4-0 to the Chengdu Hunters. Yeah, I don't know how to explain this week. We've got Shanghai losing to Toronto. We've got London being stomped by Florida. We've got Vancouver being stomped by Washington. And New York being stomped by Chengdu. Yeah. This happened. What can I say? Honestly, this is the least surprising out of the surprising results. Chengdu can run some really weird stuff, and that they do. They're liking their Doomfist, they're liking their Pharah, they're liking their Sombra. They're playing much less of the May Reaper. But New York, they got thrown for a loop, and then they were like, oh, quick, play Reaper May. And they just got shut down. Just got totally shut down by Chengdu. And it's Excelsior things, isn't it? When something doesn't work out, I think sometimes they panic. And after the first map, they subbed in Flower, and Flower took 3 minutes to build an EMP. That's terrible. Like, I'd be disappointed in myself if I couldn't build an EMP in 3 minutes. That can't happen. That just can't happen at this level. Yeah. You might as well be a tracer. Because there's no use to you. If you can't get that EMP online, it's fight winning. It's point winning ultimate, and it just wasn't there. Anyway, I struggled to explain this week, so let's move on to the standings. Vancouver and New York are still top, but they've lost ground to the San Francisco Shock, who have a match advantage anyway. Hangzhou haven't moved, but there's a reason for that. They haven't played as much, and I'm worried for them. In 5th we have the Gladiators, in 6th we have the Spitfire. Fusion move up to 7th, Seoul in 8th, Shanghai down to 9th. Moving up into 10th we have the Atlanta Reign. They're only 1 win behind Seoul and Shanghai. Getting interesting in there. Getting really interesting. Guangzhou are in 11th. Chengdu are in 12th, making up the play-ins. Dallas Fuel just outside in 13th, but moving down the league. Valiant in 14th. Houston in 15th. These people now, Houston downwards, these are the people that are real risk now. They're really outside chances for the play-ins. Houston in 15th. Paris in 16th. Boston in 17th. Toronto in 18th. Washington in 19th with now 5 wins on the board this season. And Florida in 20th with 3 wins on the board this season. Okay, well, this week happened. It was a thing. We are going to see some more upsets, I think. It's just the way 222 is working right now. But, yeah. I have no words for what's happened this week in the Overwatch League. It's just bonkers, some of the results. But next week should be a really interesting week. There should be some close games here and there, and a week where Hangzhou Spark really need to prove themselves. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then.